In this Multiversus video, we're going to talk about the best perks used with Taz in Multiverses. So here we are on the main menu of Multiverses here. I'm going to move over to the collection and then I'm going to select Taz from the fighters. You can see that we can select 3 lower level perks and 1 signature perk. We are also working towards tier 11 at the moment, so you can see that I've been using Taz quite a bit. Now I'm going to go into the train perks menu to see what perks are available and show you what's available. You can see Taz's known perks. These are perks you've unlocked with Taz, and when I'm going through this perk tutorial, these are the ones that you are most likely going to have already unlocked with your Taz if you're a lower level Taz and just getting started. Then you have unknown perks from other characters. These are perks you've unlocked when using other characters in Multiverses. And then you have all other perks. In the unlocked perks from other characters and the all other perks, you can train these perks so they can become available for Taz. By selecting a perk and then looking at the cost in this terms, for this perk it's 100 gold. You can see I have 13,004 gold available. I could train this perk at the cost of 100 gold and use it with Taz. This is also repeated for the defense and utility section. Now that we've gone through what's available in the lower level perks, let's talk about the best perks to use with Taz. Now Taz is an up close and personal character. You need to get in close as he's a bruiser and he's also a horizontal type character. So of course there are some horizontal and melee attacks that can be really useful with Taz. And this is why the percussive punch power is going to be one of the best perks to use with Taz. Your team deals 5% increased damage with attacks that knock back enemies horizontally. Of course, you're a horizontal type character and you're a bruiser, you need to get in close in order to get that knockback off and send your players flying. So percussive punch power is going to be one of the best perks to use with Taz in this section here. In the unlocked perks from other characters, the one that I would select would be Painted Target. Your team deals 5% increased damage when hitting enemies that are in hit stun. Now what's incredible about Taz is he has the ability of Tasty. What Tasty does is it builds up a meter above the head of the enemy once you're using a specific attack, and what it does when it fills up is that enemy will turn into a turkey. When they turn into a turkey, they are disabled for a moment and won't be able to use their usual moveset, and they're basically running for cover. So that is why Painted Target is going to be great, because that hit stun is also in effect when you're using your Tasty abilities. I'm going to select this perk now. I'm going to train it so it's available for Taz. 2 other runner-ups that I would select in this category would be the Wildcat Baller. Your team deals 5% increased damage with melee attacks on the ground, so if you're staying on the ground quite a lot with Taz, that can be very useful. And then of course if you're using Taz quite a lot in the air, you could go for the Lumpy Space Punch. Your team deals 5% increased damage with melee attacks in the air, 10% increased damage if your ally also selects this perk. Going to train this perk now, so it's available for Taz. Now let's cover the defense section and go over the best perks used with Taz in the defense section. Now a lot of Taz players like to move around quite a lot, use your spin attack and move around on the platform. If this is you and you are that type of Taz player, I would say select the Toon Elasticity. Your team receives 20% reduction to ground and wall bounce velocity. What this does is basically when you're bouncing off a surface after being knocked back, you're having less movement, so you're flying less or less of a speed, and you're able to then use your KBR, your knockback influence, to influence yourself more often, as opposed to being knocked back and flying off the edge of the map because you're bouncing off a wall, a platform, or a surface. That is what Toon Elasticity does, and of course you have 25% reduction if your ally also selects this perk. So if you're a mover with Taz, I would definitely say select this perk for your Taz build. Other ones you could consider in the defense section could be ones to do with projectiles, as Taz has the ability to eat projectiles and spit them back out at other players. Now, if you're that type of player with Taz, there are a few different options that you can select to nerf projectiles coming your way in case you've missed that ability, you're trying to eat that item and then you've missed that projectile. In that case, I would say you'd select something like School Me Once, or something to do with projectiles that could be useful to your type of play mode with Taz. Taz is a very sort of unique character that requires you to play with him in your way. So if you're a static Taz user, there are different perks that you can use, for example the Kryptonian skin, but of course there are projectiles that are coming your way quite often as Taz, and you have the ability to nerf those by eating those, and if you're that type of player, use the School Me Once, could be useful to you. Your team receives projectile block buff for 2 seconds after being knocked back by a projectile. Now that affects the entire team, and there are also other projectile type defense that you can use or consider. For example, we have your team receives 7% ability cooldown refund after being knocked back by a projectile. In my opinion, this is the best one to use with Taz, as it's very, very easy to use as opposed to trying to use your ability and trying to take advantage of your defense perk along with that. So the Absorb and Go, definitely one of the best to use with Taz in this section. Now that we've covered defense, let's talk about that utility and what's great to use with Taz. Although players like to move around with Taz quite often, you may need some extra speed boost in order to get out of some situations. So of course, with that said, the Speed Force Assist could be a great perk for you to use with Taz if you are struggling with Taz's movement, as you'll be able to move a lot more with your increased base movement of 4% and then 8% if your ally also selects this perk. So Speed Force Assist could be one that you consider. I'm not going to select it for myself right now because I'm getting used to Taz's movement, but if you're early on and you can train perks, I would say Speed Force Assist is one that you can consider. If you're struggling to get up into the air, you could consider Triple Jump. Of course, Triple Jump is great because you can then get that extra jump off after hitting an enemy in the air, and Taz has a lot of close quarter melee attacks. So when you're close to an enemy and you've managed to get off a hit, that Triple Jump could be helpful to you. But in my opinion, the best one to use in this section here is going to be the Coffeezilla, because Taz has abilities that can be useful, but the cooldown can be punishing. So Coffeezilla, definitely one of the best perks to use with Taz in this section here. Or you can go along with the build that we've selected with the earlier perks, and you can select Taz Trigonometry to further nerf the knockback of your enemies. So when your enemies are knocking you back, you have a 15% increase to that base knockback influence. So you're managing to move yourself out of the way of danger with that knockback influence. So Taz Trigonometry, definitely one of the best to use with Taz. Now that we've gone over those lower level perks, let's get into that signature perk, and I'm going to select the best perk to use with Taz in this section here. Let me know what perks you're using with your Taz build. Now there are two available. There's one that requires you to really know how to use that eating ability. Taz has an eating ability, you can eat projectiles, and with this signature perk, what it does is after Taz eats that projectile, he will burp out an anvil item instead of a projectile. Now this is really hard to use. I would say if there's pros that are using this, it's sort of like an ability that can be useful because you're able to get that reaction time and eat a projectile that's coming your way. But projectiles are different sizes in Multiversus, and this can really throw you off, and you can get that knockback after being hit by a projectile. For example, something that's really huge like a rocket can really set you up for failure if you don't know how to use this perk. So I would say the best one to use is I gotta get out of here. Taz's allies can jump into his dog pile, giving it more damage, more knockback, and longer duration and armor. Now what's great about that ability is you can move it once you've started the dog pile, and having that extra duration can really be helpful. So I've got to get out of here is definitely the best signature perk to use with Taz. Now that we've covered these perks and I've gone over what I think are the best perks to use with Taz, let's show you how this is done and let's get into a match. Let's go. So we're going to have complete control over our knockback using the perks that we've just selected.
Come on, pick character.
You can see I'm using a Taz announcer pack. Gonna select Taz now. We're going to confirm. Let's get him. Perks that we're selecting for this match are Painted Target, Toon Elasticity, Taz Trigonometry, and of course the I gotta get out of here.
Over here, Taz. Your lunch is getting away.
Are we ready? Let's watch out. Where's that yummy? The one's about to turn into turkey. He's close. Hold on. What's going on there?
Really thought I'd go out.
If you want to help out Shaggy, you just let me know, yeah? Get a dog pile out there. There you go. What is Shaggy doing, bro? What's... It's like you're missing a match. It's just...
Now it's my turn.
I get it. You can go Dragon Ball on him. I really do. I get that. That's all, folks.
Winner! Rematch?
Let's see if they want a rematch. I don't want a rematch. So there we have it, guys. If you enjoyed them, get to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and there's more multiverses that you can see on screen right now. Smash one of those thumbnails. Let me know what perks you're using. And remember, I'll see you in the next one, and you are awesome. Thank you for watching.